Hello everyone, we are D&D Breakfast Club. We wanted to invite you to our table today to talk about everything D&D 5e related. Today we're going to be going over some of our favorite monsters that we've actually had an encounter with, give you some ideas of how you can use them in your own campaign and how we use them in ours. I think I will start. We're going to start with Goblins. Goblins are by far my favorite monster. I think Goblins are probably the best monster in the entire game. I am 100% biased, but I love Goblins. If you've known me for a long time, you probably know that I love Goblins. I love throwing Goblins at the players, I love fighting Goblins, and I love playing as a Goblin, which I've played more than once. I think we even ran a whole Goblin-themed campaign for a while.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
I ran it for you twice.
We were awesome.
Once and a half.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite starts to a campaign we've ever done. We started talking in gobbledygook. I don't even know what to call it. We just did not talk actual
We talked
English.
like goblins would talk.
We talked like goblins would talk. It was hilarious. And we sounded stupid, even though my goblin was a wizard and he was really smart. I still did not sound smart.
You're goblins.
They're goblins.
How smart are you?
When I made my goblin, this was the first one I made. I wrote an entire backstory. I wrote a goblin lineage. I wrote how goblins give each other their real names, and you don't get it until you had your true death. I just started making up my own goblin lore, and I was looking through all the different lores. Nothing's really set in stone, and there's not any real good lores that truly grab my attention. So someday I think I'm going to release my own goblin lore. But let's get back to D&D 5e. Goblins and goblin bosses are in the monster manual, page 166. They start with a challenge rating of 1/4. These are weak enemies. Not the weakest at 1/8 of a challenge rating, but they're still weak. At level 1, though, they can dish out a pretty good amount of damage. They have an AC of 15, which is one of the highest ACs for a creature this low a level. It's actually really hard to hit them when you're low levels because you have +3, +4 to hit when you're level 1.
You can get up to +5.
You can get up to +5. It's really hard to hit these little guys at low levels. You have to roll a 10 or better at level 1. So that's pretty good to start with. They have dark vision, 60 feet. And they have a good stealth, +6 to stealth, so they can sneak up on people. They're really good in groups.
Sneaky fucking goblins. Watch out.
They also have an ability called Nimble Escape. I would probably rename this to Cowardice. They're cowards. They can take the disengage or the hide action as a bonus action on each of their turns. So when they're fighting in melee, if they really need to run away, they can hit someone, use their bonus action, and run.
Yeah, that's something that always struck me as strange because if you layer character classes on top of the goblin chassis, like it overlaps almost directly with some of the stuff you get as a rogue. And being a rogue makes the most sense for goblins in my mind. So I always thought that was weird.
I think in Volo's Guide to Monsters, they still get this Nimble Escape ability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they also get like Wrath of the Small or something.
Fury of the Small, they add their level to 1 damage roll.
Yep, around.
The only other goblin in the book of the monster manuals is the goblin boss, and they're a challenge rating of 1. They're a little tougher. They're much harder to hit at an AC 17. They have multi-attack, which is a huge deal for creatures that get 2 attacks in early levels. And they also have this thing called redirect attack, where if they see something that's going to hit them, they can redirect it to another goblin within 5 feet of them. They swap places, and that goblin takes the hit instead.
It's kind of awesome.
Which is really funny, because that's exactly how goblins should work. They are definitely neutral evil.
Oh, they should be. Yeah, neutral evil. Looking out for number 1 since level 1.
Careful, though, because they are often paired with hobgoblins and bugbears, which could mean that your easy encounter go off the rails very quickly. My favorite monster suffers a bit of legacy fatigue, I suppose, and some of what I was actually thinking about this creature is no longer applicable in 5e. However, it is the Grey Render, which is one of the first major monsters I ever fought way back when I started with a
I remember
3.5.
Yeah.
Yep. And I was a tiny little halfling, and I got off a miracle shot as it had its back turned to me, and I gave it a whole 6 damage with the crossbow in the back of the head, and it was enough to kill it. And so it became this great creature in my memory of him. However, one ability that it no longer has is where I imagine it gets its name. In 3.5, it had an ability called Rend, where if it hit with both hands or grapple check, something like that, it would automatically just pull you apart.
It would, if it hit with 2 attacks, it's going to multi-attack. So if it hit with its claw, it would automatically rend.
I think that and Trolls used to do the
Trolls
same
used to do
thing.
the same thing, yeah.
It just seemed like such a baseline thing that I assumed it still does that, but it no longer does. It still has multi-attack, it still has bites and claws, and it has a bloody rampage reaction now, so that once a turn, when it gets hit, it automatically just hits something nearby. And this is in Mordekainen's Tome of Foes, and that is on page 209. The very bottom is called Bloody Rampage. When a Grey Render takes damage, it makes 1 attack with its claws against a random creature within its reach other than its master.
Listed under reaction.
Yep.
Well, then I owe you guys an apology for when I threw a Grey Render at you and used its reaction multiple times around.
Ah, you just did it all the time.
Rend.
Oops.
It's all right. A curious impulse drives the Grey Render. Despite all its hulking form and terrible appetite, it wants most of all to bond with an intelligent creature, and once bonded, give its life to protect that creature. So this becomes a weird guardian, and much like the goblins having those big brothers, if you have one random creature out there, you never know when its buddy, its protector, its guardian
Mama
angel,
bear.
its iron giant is going to come storming out of the woods and give you what for. And
Oh, look, it's a goblin. It's a goblin with a Grey Render.
It says an intelligent creature, not a goblin.
That's fair.
My goblin had 16 intelligence. Come on.
Yep. And then,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
And then
Anyway.
anyway, chair ate him.
Much more likely.
How smart was he really?
Which brings us to our next creature.
Which is a mimic.
Speaking of segues.
Enjoys to eat goblins.
Right.
So mimics are fun because they are shape-shifting creatures and they like to take the form of objects. And you're not really able to tell what they are before you touch them, and they get their ability, which is adhesive. So anything that touches it is adhered to it, and when it's adhered, you can bite it.
That's automatic.
Yep.
When it adheres to them,
Mhm.
there's no save. It just happens.
So huge or smaller creatures adhered to it and is also grappled by it, escape DC 13. Could say that they would have a chance to escape before, depending on how they roll in.
Well, they can have a chance to escape before it bites.
Yeah.
But when they touch it, they're adhered.
Yeah.
And then
Ability
they have
checks
to use their action to escape.
Yeah.
So you
and ability
touch it.
checks made to escape this grapple have disadvantage.
You would touch it, you would adhere, everybody would enter initiative, and if you had a higher initiative than it, then you can attempt to use your action to escape before it bites you.
Surprise rounds. They get the surprise round as
Yeah.
long as you're not ready for them.
Yeah, if a mimic took the form of, say, a big lazy boy, and you were to sit your butt down right in its open maw, it would probably go poorly for anyone who did that.
Or anyone who would go to save the person.
Yeah. Yeah, even if that one got away, the poor schmuck who saved him was probably done for.
Yeah.
Especially if it was a stupid goblin.
We're gonna tell that story later.
I think we just told it.
Yeah, more or less.
But yeah, overall, mimics are fun. You can put them like right after a boss fight. You have a treasure chest in the corner, and everyone's excited to get that new treasure. And so they just walk up right to it.
Oh shit, it's a mimic.
Yep. And the best part is usually the people who are the most intelligent or the people who are most interested in finding the good stuff. Like the barbarian's still, in the corner smacking somebody.
Right.
The people who are going to come over to it are the people who are weaker. They're smaller. They're looking to get the good stuff. They're looking to get new items to help protect them. And the first thing that happens to them is they have to escape from a DC 13 strength save.
It's
As
the
a
greedy
wizard.
rogue or the greedy warlock,
Yep.
absent-minded wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Walking up to a treasure chest thinking, hey, this is safe. And then things happen. When you're first starting out, a lot of people, unless they're wearing plate mail, which a lot of people don't get really early on, they're going to have an AC somewhere between like 14 and 18 with a +5. And you have advantage on hitting them, chances are you're going to hit.
I used a mimic once in this campaign we're playing where I made it a minecart.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really funny when Brian's character just went over and touched the minecart and it said,
Sloop.
now we're moving. And it moves away with him.
It didn't get very far.
I had a great chase scene planned out in my mind. You did stop my plans, but
Abjure enemy.
you can use them for many different things. They don't just have to be a treasure chest. They can be anything you can imagine, including maybe a little flying hang glider that you want to jump over the edge of the cliff with, and then it'll slowly eat you while you go down, gliding away.
It's also super great if you're the DM because you throw a mimic at somebody. For the next year, they're going to be, don't touch that.
I stabbed the seat. I stabbed the
Yeah.
table.
You
I
stab
stabbed the wall.
everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're
stabbed my
convinced,
Whoops.
you're convinced everything is a mimic, and then as soon as they don't stab everything, you
Then
can
it's a
just
mimic.
change it right then and there and be like, oh, you open the treasure chest? It's a mimic.
So
Well, it's
what
like-
you're saying is I should start throwing mimics at you again.
That's like the old joke. The barkeep asked why we carried weapons on us in the bar. I said mimics. The barkeeper laughed. The party laughed. The table laughed. We killed the table. It was a good time.
Yeah, the bell.